name is Fadipe Mubarak from Department of Agricultural Extension and Rural Sociology. Now, this morning we'll be discussing what agricultural extension entails. Where by extension, in our next meeting, we'll be discussing teaching methods in agricultural extension. Now, for me to introduce this, the focus of today to you, we need to know what agricultural extension entails. Now, in our previous meetings, we noted that the essence of agricultural extension is to change. We said that it's an out of school informal education in order to change the behavior or the attitude of the farmers towards embracing innovative agricultural techniques, as well as changing the outlook of the rural settings. Now, the effort of agricultural extension assist farmers to acquire education which they need for their human life and for them to be able to apply innovative practices to their agricultural engagement. And in doing so, we agricultural extension employ the services of extension agents to deliver this information on improved technologies to the farmers. Now, the concept of extension is based on the following basic premises or assumptions. Now, the first one is that the people you are reaching out to, they have unlimited potential for personal growth and development. Also, development takes place at any stage in their lives with appropriate learning opportunities. Another point is that development may take place at any stage of their life. Yes, I've stated that. I've stated that. Also, the third one is that adults are motivated to learn by the need for increased productivity and living standard. Remember we said that extension education is more or less like an adult education, which is an out of school informal education. So these adults are always motivated to learn when the needs arise. Another assumption is that learning must be continuous to meet up with changing needs and production technologies. That is, learning must not be static. The information you are taking to the farmers, it must be continuous. As soon as new information or innovation is coming out, you must take it to the farmers. They too, they are always ready to learn. So learning must be continuous. And lastly, the last assumption is that people acquire knowledge and skills to make optimal choices for individual and social benefit. Now, these rural adults, they are always ready to acquire knowledge so that they will be skillful and for them to be able to decide on which option should they go for, and this will enhance their social capital as well. Now, in order to move forward, and we need to talk about the essence of agricultural extension work. We, from what we've defined or from what we've explained earlier, we've established that it is an educational process and it involves the following, that is working with the rural people along the lines of their immediate and felt needs. Extension must work with the rural people based on the felt needs of these people. You in extension, we don't just assume that, oh, this is what the rural people need, this is what the farmer needs. No, we tailor our services to their felt needs. We rank their needs and we start from the needs that is really important to them. That is how they appreciate the effort of extension work, and that is how extension work also make impact in the farmer's life. Another essence of extension work is number two is it it helps to conduct a worthwhile activities in the spirit of cooperation and mutual respect between the extension workers and rural people. Also, extension utilize supporting activities to bring extension work and extension staff up to date through various developmental means. Having stated all this, having introduced us to the essence of extension and the assumptions, now in this study, I expect the students to be able to learn the objective of extension, the main principles of extension, the problem of agricultural extension in Nigeria, as well as the extension teaching methods. So we have different extension teaching methods. We may not be able to touch on that this week, but the following week we'll touch on that. But today I've already introduced us to what agricultural extension entails. Now we'll go further to discuss the objectives, the main principles, also the agri and the problems faced in agricultural extension service delivery. Are you with me, students? If you are with me, let me see your hand. Say hi. Okay, good, good. That's encouraging. So let's continue. Now, what are the objectives of agricultural extension services? Now, the first objective is that extension is agricultural extension service designed to assist people discover and analyze their problems and identify their felt needs. Again, the first objective of agricultural extension is to assist people to discover and analyze their problems and identify the felt needs. Second objective is to help the people develop leadership among them and also help them organize groups to solve their problems. Another objective is to disseminate research information of economic and practical importance to the people in a way that they will understand and use. Another one, which is the number four objective, is to assist the people in mobilizing, utilizing the resources which they have and which they need from outside. Lastly, another objective is to help the people collect, transmit, feedback information for solving their problems. In order to explain this, the first one is not that the people cannot identify their problem, but agricultural extension services will assist the farmers to identify their problems, also to help them categorize which of their needs is the felt needs, and that way they will be able to address the problem. Also, what we do in agricultural extension is another goal is to help the people develop leadership. You know, some people in some settings, there are some key leaders, but these leaders are they are covert. They are not really known to the people. So agricultural extension services will help the community or the rural people to help them identify those with leadership traits so that we can put the leadership skills to use so that they can use it to achieve whatever developmental goals extension is bringing to the community. Also, extension assists to disseminate information from the research stations to the rural people. Also, extension assists to mobilize and utilize resources for the practical importance of the rural people. And lastly, they help to collect feedback from the farmers to take it to the institutes or the research station so that the research station can make better their recommendation and the extension will take it back to the farmers. That's how extension works. Now, thank you. Before we move to the principles of agricultural extension, again, we've already established the assumptions of agricultural extensions, the essence of extensions, and also the objectives of agricultural extension. Now, to move further in this class, we will discuss the main principles of extension. And what do we understand by principles of extension? These are the rules, the guiding, let me say, modus operandi that extension must follow for extension services or activities to be able to be effective, to be able to come to fruition, so that the people can feel the impact of agricultural extension services. Now, these principles, they are set guidelines for the conduct of extension, and these principles are the bedrocks upon which extension work rests. Now, when you want to build a house, you must start with the foundation. Yes, you acquire a land, you clear the land, and you do what? You start with the foundation. Failure to do so, you will not have any solid house. Now, for extension service to be effective, these are the guidelines that extension must follow. Are you with me, students? All right, thank you. Now, we have different principles. Now, some of the principles are the principle of cultural difference, the principle of grassroots, the principle of indigenous knowledge, the principle of interest and needs, the principles of learning by doing, the principle of participation, the principle of family, the principle of leadership, the principle of adaptability, principle of satisfaction, principles of evaluation. Another principle is the principle of felt need. We also have the principle of cooperation and many others. Now, let's take some of these principles so that we can break it down for your understanding. Now, the first one is the principle of cultural difference. As an extension personnel, you must understand that your whole cultural background is different from that of the clientele. I mean, the target farmers you are taking the information to. That is, differences exist between, also differences exist between groups of farmers. So you have to tailor your information, your service provision, you have to tailor it to these differences in cultural heritage, as well as their understanding of where you are coming from. So the values of the people, the attitude, their consumes are different from you, and also there are different kind of farmers you'll be dealing with. So you have to establish the differences and tailor your extension information to this, so that it will be able, so that they will be able to accept the information you are taking to them, as well as put it to use. Class, is that taken? Also, you have to make use of, this is the principle of grassroots. You have to make use of local leaders. You have to understand that in a particular community, there are some leaders that people will listen to. You have to identify these local situations. You have to understand these local problems, and you must fit it into your program. You don't just take your program to them, you must fit your information to their local situation. So, which means that extension work should start with where the people are and what they have. You must make use of their local situation. That is, change should start from the existing situation. Are you with me, class? The next one is the principle of indigenous knowledge. People everywhere, they have indigenous knowledge which they have developed through generations, through the experience, and their problem solving in their own specific situations. So these indigenous knowledge systems encompass all aspects of life, and people consider it essential for their survival. So you have to tailor your information to this indigenous knowledge. Even however, if you have an innovative information you are taking to them, you have to make sure that you tailor it to their own indigenous knowledge, so that they will be able to appreciate the new information you are taking to them. You must not ignore this indigenous knowledge. You must acknowledge it. You must not tell them that it is outdated. There are ways you introduce your new information to them, so that they can appreciate it, and they automatically they will also embrace it and try to do away from their own old practices. Extension personnel must do this. Class, before I go further, I have been mentioning extension agents, extension personnel, extension workers, but I have failed to explain what this terminology means. Simply means that those that works with extension organization, that assist extension organization to take their information to their farmers, to their contact farmers. Without extension agents, new improved practices cannot get to the farmers. Also, farmers' problems cannot get to research stations. So these agents, they are very important in extension service provision. Is that taking? Now let's continue with our principles. Another principle is principle of needs and interest. That is, people's interest and people's needs are the starting point of extension work. Therefore, identifying the real needs and interest of the people is a challenging task. Extension agents should not pass on their own needs and interests and those of the people. That is, you must identify the people's needs. You must identify the people's interests. Without that, your extension service will not be successful. You must identify the people's needs and address it. Let me give you an hypothetical example. Let's say in a community named Shepeteri community, their major problem is, let's say, they need water for irrigation. But as an extension personnel, you are working for your own agency and you feel that because you are conversant with the community, what they need is input and health services. If you take the information of input, what do you mean by input? Like fertilizer, herbicide, and whatnot. Also, you feel that they need health facility in that community. You are now taking information of health. You are trying to bring about a project of health center in that community. Hello, students, it will fail because their felt need and their interest at that moment is what water for irrigation, which means that you have to provide water first. So, as an extension personnel, you must identify this felt need so that by the time you implement whatever program you are taking to them, it will address their felt needs and the farmers and the community will also embrace it. Is that taking? That is principle of interest and need. Then the principle of learning by doing, that is, you must make sure that the farmers they put whatever you are taking to them, they put it to practice. That way they'll be able to develop confidence and they'll be able to participate and embrace whatever information or innovation you are taking to them. In line with that, there's also principle of participation. That is, most people in the village community should willingly cooperate and participate in identifying their problems. As an extension personnel, you cannot force them. You cannot force them to embrace whatever you are taking. You must make it enticing. You must you must make it unique for the farmers to be able to participate. That way, both the farmers and the extension personnel will be able to identify their problems and work towards solutions. Also, another key principle is that another principle is principles of family. That is, you must work with the farm family. You must not work with a farmer in isolation. You must be able to take care of that farmers and the interest so that the farmers so that sorry you must be able to take care of the farmers and the household as a whole. And this implies that the family as a whole is developed economically and socially. Whatever information you are taking to the farmer, the information must also affect the household as a whole. Now, another one is the principle of leadership. There are leaders in the community. You must make use of them. Not necessarily the former leaders, There are some people, their opinion in the community will sway people's interest in whatever program you are taking to them. You must identify these people. You must also help the community to identify the potential leaders amongst them, so that they can use them. You can use them so that you can use them to pass your information effectively. Also, principle of adaptability. That is, extension work and extension teaching methods must be flexible and adapted to suit local conditions. Another principle is principle of satisfaction. That is, the end product of your extension information you are taking to them must be satisfying to the farmers. They must derive satisfaction from what you are taking to them. This way, it will reinforce whatever you are taking to them, and they will be able to put it to use. The essence of the information an extension personnel is taking to any community is for the farmers to be able to use it for in their own production activity. So they must be satisfied with whatever information you are taking to them. And lastly, principles of evaluation. Any information, any activities you are taking to the farmers, you must be able to evaluate it. You must be able to assess the farmers as well, so that they will not remain stagnant. They must be able to move from one social ladder to another ladder. They must be able to take a step. A farmer that is producing poorly, before you take new innovation to the farmer, you must be able to evaluate the farmer situation to ascertain that if truly the farmer situation has changed. These are the principles of extension. They are the guidelines, they are the bedrock to any extension activities you want to do. In essence, before you pass any agricultural information to farmers or in their community, you must be able to do what? To follow through these principles. Extension services does not work in isolation. Extension services do not work in isolation. You must follow through with these principles. Hello class, are you with me? If you are with me, let me see your hand. Oh, okay, good, good, good. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Let's appreciate our effort so far. Oh, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you. Now, before we end today's class, let me touch on the some of the problems faced in agricultural extension. Some of them are the lack of focus, policy making, problem of enactment, problems of responsibilities, political problem, as well as inadequate funding of extension, also inadequate input supply, inadequate linkage between extension and research is a huge problem of selfish interest and greed, also welfare and motivation of extension workers, poor staffing, lack of program evaluation. In no particular order, let me explain some of these problems. Currently, the major agricultural extension development programs, which is saddled with responsibility of carrying out extension activities in Ogun State. Today, I'm not sure they have up to 60 agricultural extension staff. How do you want extension activities to be effectively carried out when you don't even have enough staff to reach out to the farmers? These are the problems. Poor staffing, lack of program evaluation. Whenever a developmental program is to be implemented in our rural areas, how do we evaluate this program? Poorly evaluated. They are not well assessed. Welfare and motivation of workers. The extension workers are not well paid. So how do we now expect them to give their 100% services to the program? Also, extension to staff ratio, extension to farmers ratio, extension staff to farmer ratio is very poor. Ideally, we should be having about one extension worker to 325 farmers or to 30 farmers, but in our own case, that is not the case. We have so many farmers to one extension. So how do you want the extension staff to reach out to all the farmers with the innovation? Also, the problem we have is there is a poor linkage between extension and research. Ideally, the research stations, the institute, the universities, they should be working hand in hand with extension personnel, train extension personnel so that the extension personnel can take the information to the rural populace. In our own case, it is very poor. We really have this linkage. It is very poor. So the extension personnel need to be trained constantly on the new trends in agriculture, but we really do not have it. So these are the problems we need to solve it. Also, poor funding of extension. The government or whoever establish extension organization, they are paying lip services to extension activities. Extension activities need to be sponsored, need to be funded so that the poor farmers can also feel the positive impact of extension activities. Also, the situation is political problem. We've politicized the extension services. We need to do away from the politics and put real practice in place so that farmers can feel the impact of extension activities. Thank you, class. Before I end today's class, let us do quick review of what we've touched. We've discussed the essence of agricultural extension, the assumptions, as well as the objectives. We emphasize the principles, that is the guidelines for extension personnel to follow in order to for the information to be effective, such as the principles of participation, principles of satisfaction, principles of felt needs, principles of leadership, family principles, principles of participation, principles of learning by doing, amongst others. Also, we've also discussed the problems faced by extension services, which must be addressed for effective delivery of extension services. Is that taking? Is that taking class? Oh, good. I'm happy that we all are on the same page. I really appreciate the attention you paid so far. Thank you for the attention and your cooperation. I will meet again next week, God's willing, so that we can discuss the extension teaching methods. Thank you. I wish you all the best. Enjoy the rest of the day and the week. Bye. See you next class. Bye.